Hello, hello. It looks like we're live. Alright, it'll take a minute to let folks hop in. Hopefully we won't have as much trouble as we've had the last couple of times. Gandhi! You can't play with that right now, it's super loud. I'm sorry. Alright, let's... Alright. Hey, Jeff! Gandalf's trying to turn the toy back over. I need to get my water, my bad. Ugh! I'm sorry, Gandhi, you can't play with it right now. There are other toys. Hey, Silent Konami, Delvin, Craig. Welcome, folks. Adjust it here. Let me know if the music is too loud or too quiet. How that sounds. If I sound good, we'll get going in a minute. I sound staticky? Oh no. Is my mic going? Alright, let's try some things. No static, but it's muffled. This one needs Logitech. Okay. Yeah, it's reading as if I'm... Okay. I wonder... Whoa! Why is it in the red? Okay, the mic is, making all kind of sounds. Good God. Alright, let's take you off the stand. See if it's positioning or if it's the mic itself fucking up. I have a bad feeling it's the mic, which is less than a year old. How do I sound now? Let me set it here. I wonder if it's the mic or if it's the cord going. It's better? Do you still hear static? No more static? Huh. Very strange. Something about when it's hanging in the air. Hey, Pablo, and folks jumping in. I guess when it's on the... Well, I mean, it did it last night, too. It must be going. I'm gonna have to replace it. Frick. Grr. I'll try replacing the cord first and see if that helps. And if not, then, yeah, we're gonna have to... Now, how do I get the pop filter in front of it? Actually, there we go. That works. Or... Let's move that out of the way. Now it works. Okay, yeah, we're not getting any more feedback. Yay. So how does the music sound? Can't believe YouTube notified me on time, right? People notified about videos on YouTube? Who can believe it? It shows only one person watching for you. Well, YouTube can only get so many things right in a day. One thing. Maybe. But thanks for joining us, folks. This is Fanfic Friday. Once again, jumping into the horrors of my childhood to explore the early writing of Baby Muse. This is called Final Hell because I was so creative, and it's a crossover between Final Fantasy VII and Silent Hill. It was my first attempt at writing horror, so that's a thing we're gonna experience, is what my 15-year-old self thought horror was. And it was also my first attempt at screenwriting. I'm going to have to dig into my files, because I know I have it somewhere. But I wrote this as a script originally, and I had my friends film some of it for like a day. It was like horrible, because none of them actually wanted to do a film. They wanted to play. It was summer. And I was like, come on, let's make a movie. It did not work out. It's my first attempt at horror. And at this point in my life, my experience with horror was probably Silent Hill, Stephen King's Carrie, Dracula, and maybe a little Fatal Frame 2. So I really didn't have a big breadth of horror experience at this time. So it very much feels like my attempt at writing Silent Hill, but with Final Fantasy characters. So I guess I should stop putting it off. We have to start at some point. This story is not as cringeworthy, because again, unlike the previous ones we've read that I wrote in like middle school, it's a little better, but it definitely has some age on it, some awkwardness, and I guess we'll see about the horror thing. I don't know. I remember some things I wrote. I don't think they were scary, but I thought they were at the time. Hey, Lobsoul and everybody else, thank you for joining us. This is Chapter 1 of Final Hell. In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. I did not change the quote. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you. 5 years had passed since the night of the fire, and he dreamed of it still. The searing heat of the flames, the blinding light of his hometown going up in smoke, the burning. He remembered it all, could still feel it almost, as if the fire were still licking at him while he rested in bed. 21-year-old Cloud Strife sat up in bed, tired beyond words, but unable to fall into a peaceful sleep. He threw the blankets off his body. They made him feel warm, and warmth was the last thing he wanted to feel. It reminded him too much of that day. Stop it, he whispered. He was letting his thoughts drag him down, and that wouldn't do any good at all. The blonde stood and stretched and glanced at the clock. It was 3:37. Good thing he didn't have to work tomorrow. He sighed and ran a hand through his unkempt hair. What did he have to do tomorrow? No one needs me. No one wants me. Cloud banished the dark thoughts and tried not to think of anything. He moved towards the door quietly, not wanting to wake those still asleep. Tifa Lockhart and her adopted son Denzel lived with him in the cramped one-bedroom flat. If Cloud squinted, he could see the dark-haired woman curled up on her bed by the window, with Denzel sprawled haplessly beside her. Remember? These three people share one apartment, and Cloud has the one bedroom, and the mother and the child sleep on a bed in front of the window in the living room. Remember that setup? Oh, and there's a door. Oh, man. It was a struggle. No, actually, I wrote, it was struggle. It was struggle. Even with 2 incomes and a shared rent. Tifa worked as a barmaid at all hours, and I guess a barmaid could work in the morning, but typically the hours are just the night. Cloud did whatever odd jobs he could, fixing things or making deliveries. Denzel was a 6th grader, and school was his job. They were doing the best they could. Tifa hadn't been there the day of the fire. Her family had moved away from Nibelheim before Shinra. Stop it, Cloud whispered again, though it was less of a whisper. He froze. Tifa moved a little on the bed, but remained asleep. The blonde let out the air he'd been holding. He just let out. And slowly opened the door. So, again, this is a one-bedroom apartment, but there's a door between the living room and the kitchen. The kitchen was small and dirty, with dishes in the sink and the remains of Denzel's dinner on the counter. Because they want rats. They want rats. Cloud picked up the dish and headed to the trash can, scraping it off. You can kind of see here where, like, the pattern of the writing, the way I'm arranging my sentences and like, you can see a kind of style building, and that I kind of know what I'm figuring it out, but the everything else is still so obviously written by a 15-year-old who doesn't know what apartments look like, who has no idea about jobs, who doesn't think of the fact that you shouldn't leave food on a table, there will be rats, like, there's other larger pieces that feel off, but the writing itself is starting to take shape. In the trash was a newspaper, dated a few weeks prior. As soon as he realized food was about to fall onto it, Cloud gasped and reached right into the trash. He yanked the newspaper out and wiped it off, cursing quietly. Damn it, Tifa. The woman kept trying to get rid of it. Cloud wouldn't let her. Oh, these got out of order, but there's the newspaper. Flattening out the paper, Cloud's eyes darkened as he gazed over the front page. Tragic crash beneath Mount Nebel. Midgar natives killed while traveling abroad. The image beneath the title made Cloud's stomach twist in knots, and a shot of heat raced up his throat, like he was going to be sick. Oh, okay, I guess that's... okay. Cloud turned away, gripping the paper so tight his knuckles were white and the paper was ripping. Without looking at the newspaper, Cloud folded it back and set it on the counter, biting his lip as he did. A few tears escaped his eyes meanwhile. No matter how much time passed, nothing changed. They weren't coming back, no matter what. Now he had more terrible things to dream about. You can tell I wrote this after Advent Children. I knew nothing about the game. I had just seen Advent Children. Just as Cloud was about to step away, something on the counter caught his eye. Turning, he saw something tucked into the newspaper. What? Unfolding the paper, a few things slipped out. It was an envelope. Dingy, slightly gray, with a few wet spots. It looked like it had been through some trouble. Cloud tentatively reached out, as if it might bite. When he grabbed it, nothing happened. The man flipped it over, and his eyes grew wide. It was addressed to him, but he'd never seen it before. He hadn't received any mail other than bills in a long time. And how would it end up in the trash? Slightly confused and a bit shaken, Cloud carefully ripped the top off and reached in. Holy! He bit back a scream and dropped the envelope onto the counter, jumping back. Something had been inside it, something very wet and very cold. Heart pounding, the blonde reached forward again and pulled on the envelope. He lifted it by the end and let the contents slide out. A letter was inside, folded into 3 parts, and tucked into a plastic baggie so it couldn't get wet. Very thoughtful of this, we can't even call it Silent Hill, this ghost town. The other thing clicked on the counter and began to roll, almost falling off the side. Cloud leapt forward and caught it, shivering from the cold touch. It was a vial, like from a lab or doctor's office. It was about the length of his palm and width of his finger. Inside, it was half full with a light green substance, with condensation covering the outside. No wonder it had been so wet. I don't know why it would have had condensation, or what that would mean. Yeah, I'm not sure. He set the strange vial aside and picked up the letter in the bag. It removed it. It removed it and unfolded it and saw that some of the water had managed to get inside. A few places in the letter were wet and the ink had run because of it. Still, he could manage to read most of it. Cloud began doing so. Hey, Cloud. Been a while. What's up? Sorry we left so abruptly. It was kinda unplanned. One morning, I wake up to go to work, and next I know, Aerith's dragging me to the van, telling me we gotta go somewhere. You know me, never could say no to a pretty face. It's also very clear I don't know anything about Zach. Cloud blinked at the letter, no longer reading it. His heartbeat quickened, his breathing hastened. It couldn't be, but the handwriting, the writing style, it was just like him. She really needs to go to the East Continent for some reason. We're gonna head toward the Nebel Mountains near your hometown. I told her we should bring you since you know the area, but she says we can't involve you. She doesn't think we can involve anybody. It's scaring me a little. She hasn't acted this way since... This part was too wet to read. And I know I'm a soldier. I'm ready for anything, but I've got this really weird feeling, like something bad's gonna happen. I guess a lot of that's been going on lately. I mean, after this too couldn't be read. Our group of friends is really thinned, huh? I don't want to lose anyone else, I guess. I don't want to lose Aerith. So I'm sending you this letter. There's no way I'm going to let Aerith get hurt, but if we don't return soon, Cloud, I'm counting on you to come save her. You're the only one I would trust with that. Look in Nibelheim. I have a feeling that's where she'll be. Thanks, man. Zach. Tears were falling from Cloud's eyes to the paper in his hands, and his arms were trembling. The man stumbled over the couch and sat down. His eyes scanned the letter for a date, but couldn't see one. Immediately he stood and raced to the counter, grabbing the envelope. There was a date in the top corner. A week before the announcement of Zach and Aerith's car crash in the Nebel Mountains. It had been sent before their deaths. Cloud's eyes slowly traveled from Zach's letter to the vial of green liquid resting on the counter. What was going on? God, so much. Cloud is so melodramatic in this story. And it's because I was a teenager, so I was melodramatic. And Advent Children had come out, so he was melodramatic. Yeah, so much happening. Alright, let's jump to the... Here we go. When Tifa Lockhart awoke the next morning, she found Cloud in the same place he'd been when he read the letter. The letter was on the coffee table, next to the envelope and the vial. He was staring intently at these items. That's a weird way to write that. The woman was in a big baggy t-shirt. Oh, God. Tiny gay me. The woman was in a big baggy t-shirt that did little to hide her large bosom. I mean... Her hair was a mess, and dark bags were under her eyes. She glanced from Cloud to the coffee table and back. "What's this?" she asked. Cloud glanced up at her with blood-red eyes. "I was hoping you could tell me." Tifa blinked. "Why is that?" The man stood and frowned, turning from her towards the window. "Because it was in the trash, and you seem to enjoy throwing my things away." The woman looked hurt by the statement, but she had gotten used to being hurt by Cloud's words. Damn. "I don't throw away your things, Cloud. I only got rid of the newspaper. Rereading the article about their deaths over and over again won't bring them back." Why are his eyes blood red? I think I was trying to say his eyes were bloodshot, and I wrote it really poorly. So it's just like he's laser beam red eyes. Cloud quickly backed away, turning on Tifa. So he backed away, but he turned on her. So he did a spin. "How the hell did that letter from Zach end up in the garbage, huh?" He swiped his arm out furiously, fire flaring in his eyes. So his eyes are on fire. He's doing a pirouette, arms spinning in the air, and his eyes are blood red because they're on fire. This shocked Tifa. It would shock me too. Cloud threw biting words her way frequently, but he was hardly angry or loud. She glanced at the coffee table. "Letter?" Cloud said nothing, only turned to stare out the window. The woman turned from him and sighed and approached the letter. It took her a moment to read it once, and then she reread it, and then reread it once more. Is this real? Tifa... This is the sentence. Tifa, her hands fall. Tifa, her hands fall. I don't even know what I was trying to... I guess Tifa let her hands... Like, she lowered the letter, but I said, Tifa, her hands fall. Has to be. His handwriting, his signature. I could almost hear him saying it all to me in my head. A humorless laugh escaped the blonde. A few tears came to Tifa's eyes, but they weren't for the dead. Oh... She sighed and set the letter down. "Well, both of them are gone now. You aren't going to Mount Nebel looking for a corpse, are you?" I misspelled corpse. I wrote it as corspe. Also, that's pretty rough, Tifa. I mean, he definitely I'm not writing these two very well. Not a very supportive friend group. Cloud spun around. I don't know, he admitted, but Zack asked me to protect Aerith. What if she's still out there? Cloud, she's dead, Tifa said forcefully. They only found the incinerated car, no bodies. That's a weird way to write that. Cloud retorted. They could be out there still. At that, the woman scoffed and stomped her feet. If you mean out there in the live stream, then yeah, you'd be right. The black-haired woman was at the end of her rope. You've been moping around for 2 months now, taking fewer... Okay, wow. 2 months is all the amount of time he's allowed to have to mourn before he should be normal. I had no idea. You do not process grief that fast. It's like having 2 children to raise. She threw her hands up in disgust. Cloud, I love you like a brother, but you can't hold on to their memory like this. Also, I very specifically wrote, I love you like a brother, because I would later go on to ship her with a woman. Which actually starts in this chapter, I think. No, Zack's right, the blonde muttered. Right? About what? Cloud stepped towards her and took the letter from her hand, pointing to a certain part. He mentions how our group of friends has thinned. He's right. A dark, forlorn look came over Cloud. Tifa, you're all I have left. First the General's friends, then the General himself, now Zack and Aerith too. Something's going on. Tifa rolled her eyes. You're calling those Shinra assholes your friends? Her tone darkened considerably. What did that Sephiroth jerk and his war buddies do for you? Don't talk about him like that, Cloud shouted, absolutely outraged. These people are horrible! He kicked the coffee table, and the green vial rolled off it onto the carpet. For the first time, Tifa noticed it. What's this? Cloud didn't answer her, still trembling from anger. She huffed and ignored him, examining it. Her look darkened as she did. What the hell is this, Cloud? I don't know, he shrugged, not looking at her. Came with the letter. Tifa glanced up in shock. Why would Zack send you... She looked back at the vial. This is all too strange. Look, Cloud, just stay out of this. Zack and Aerith's deaths might not have been natural, but this all has Shinra written all over it. Just stay away. Shinra. The name sent all sorts of feelings through Cloud's heart. Feelings of hope, dreams, brotherhood, yet also of horror, fright, and confusion. Shinra was the name of a rich company in Midgar that practically ran the city. It had connections all over the world, including Cloud's hometown of Nibelheim. Word was they were into a lot of dark stuff. Messing with Shinra could get you killed. Which might be what happened to Aerith and Zack. Cloud knew that Aerith had some sort of history with Shinra. That was how she and Zack met. And Zack was a soldier, part of the elite Shinra army. Cloud had once wanted to be a soldier, but his dream had died, and with it all his hopes for the future. Cloud tried not to think of it anymore. His eyes went to the vial in Tifa's hand. What if it had something to do with what Aerith had been looking for? Maybe it was something Shinra was working with. Can y'all hear the dog in the background? I may have to go get her. We'll take a quick break, and I'm going to go handle the puppy. And we'll be right back. we're back. My mom went to get the mail, and Lola was upset that she was left behind. Okay. His eyes went to the vial in Tifa's hand. What if it had something to do with what Aerith had been looking for? Maybe it was something Shinra was working with. Cloud reached out to take the vial from Tifa until he realized the woman was holding it away. "What do you want with it?" she asked. Cloud frowned. "It was sent to me. It's mine. My precious." Still, Tifa seemed reluctant to let it go, but she did. Does she know what this is? Cloud decided to ask her. "No, but I've got a bad feeling all the same." The woman's eyes lingered on it a little longer. Cloud held it tightly. "Isn't it time for Denzel to get ready for school?" With one last glare, Tifa headed back into the bedroom. Cloud grabbed the letter and the vial, tucked them into his pocket, and then grabbed his keys to the bike from his key rack. He needed some fresh air. 15 minutes later, Cloud found he had driven to the airport without realizing it, which means suddenly that Final Fantasy VII has an airport in Midgar, which definitely does not exist. Instinctively, his bike had led him where his heart wanted to go. Now, if only he had the money to get a ride to the East Continent. If I can just get to Nibelheim, I can find them somehow. There has to be a cheap way there. Frowning in determination, Cloud thought nothing of the money he'd need when he got there. For food, lodging, and other things. He wasn't thinking at all.
Kitty wants to join us. Hello, Kitty. Hello. You want to join us? Read story? Say, I am dumb. I cannot read.
The airport was a huge docking station for airships with commercial and private flights going in and out. Maybe someone had a cheap ride somewhere. Maybe he could hitch a ride. He had to find a way. Approaching the nearest pilot, Cloud found he was hesitating. He was devastatingly shy. "Excuse me," the blonde muttered. The pilot glanced down at him. "You wouldn't happen to be flying near Nibelheim, would you?" The man grunted. "Never heard of the place. Move along, boy." So Cloud did. He asked the question of each pilot he saw and received much the same answer. No one had heard of his hometown, and no one was willing to take him across for the cheap price he could afford. Sighing, the man was about to contemplate stowing away on an airship when a strong hand fell on his shoulder. Already high-strung, the blonde squealed and jumped, spinning around until he was face to chest with a tall man, is how I wrote that. Face to chest. "Whoa there, calm down, boy," the man muttered. His accent was thick and southern, and he looked a bit rough around the edges. Flustered, Cloud apologized for overreacting. I'm sorry," the other blonde shrugged it off. "No need, I'm the one that scared ya. Don't apologize for me." Cloud took this as a mistake on his part and apologized again. "Stop fucking apologizing," the other man shouted. Shocked, Cloud turned red-faced and bounced back. Luckily, he caught himself before he could apologize again. The pilot seemed to approve and nodded, sticking his hand out for a handshake. "Name's Sid Highwind. Best damn pilot ever. Heard of me?" The man smirked as if he expected Cloud had. Sid Highwind was a few inches taller than Cloud, with goggles on his forehead and messy, short blonde hair. He had a bit of stubble, broad shoulders, and a strong build, and was dressed in messy, oil-stained clothes. Only his baby blue eyes gave off an air of innocence. Everything else made him seem very intimidating and manly.
Like you, right, Gandalf?
You're intimidating and manly.
No, I'm dumb. No.
As he nervously shook the other man's hand, Cloud shook his head. "I'm afraid not." Sid seemed to droop slightly, but he recovered. "Damn kids. Don't know nothin' no more. Well, anyway, I heard you needed to get to Nibelheim." The man grinned. "I'm headed there myself. If you want to hitch a ride, I'd be glad to give you one." Cloud's heavy heart lifted. "What luck? You wouldn't mind?" Sid rolled his eyes and shook his head. "Didn't I just fucking say that?" Oh, Sid. Cloud wasn't sure whether or not he should feel insulted. Sid turned on his heel and stalked off, hands in his pockets. Realizing he was leaving, Cloud hurried after the man. There you go, buddy. He got tired of hanging out. Don't be stupid. I don't want any more idiots on my plane. No, I already said. I mean, damn, we've already got Suddenly, the man ceased to speak and slowed to a stop. Cloud cocked an eyebrow. Are you all right? Sid seemed to awaken from his stupor and blinked, grunting. I'm fine, all right. Hurry the fuck up. The pilot resumed, walking at a fast pace, and Cloud had to race to keep up. Cloud wondered why anyone would be headed to Nibelheim. The town had been a small, unknown place to begin with, and now it's a ruin. Why was this rough pilot headed there? He decided not to ask, since he was getting a free ride. As long as he made it to the small town, he didn't care about anything else. It wasn't a surprise Cloud was gone when Tifa returned to the room. She had been expecting it. He had begun running off pretty often, riding around on his bike. He loved that thing like it was his child. Today she was a little more worried. The letter had thrown her for a loop. And the vial. A horrid shiver ran down the woman's spine. Bad news. Sighing, Tifa collapsed onto the couch. Things had been going so well. She, Cloud, Zack, and Aerith had finally adjusted to life again. Cloud was beginning to open up again. Zack had really helped him. Aerith, too. Life was looking up. Now this. After finally recovering from his beloved general's death. I think I know what we're shipping here. Cloud was hit with this. Why us? Why always us? Tifa grabbed a pillow from the end of the couch and put it on her lap, leaning down and resting her head against it. She hated the general. She hated every stupid piece of Shinra that had lured Cloud into its dark, twisted world. Mom? Tifa sat back, seeing that Denzel was standing by the door, ready for school. She forced herself to smile. Just a minute, sweetheart. Let me get dressed. A few minutes later, they were in the car, driving down the road. Tifa let her thoughts drift, trying not to worry about Cloud. She tried not to think about all the dark things that had happened recently. She tried not to think of the shadow she felt was following her like an ominous cloud. Mom! Denzel shouted just in time for Tifa to realize she hadn't been paying attention to the road. A pedestrian was in the path in front of her, almost about to be run over if she didn't stop in time. She slammed on the brakes, tires squealing as she slid to a halt a few feet before the tall woman. The car seemed to screech in agony, and those around panicked, frightened and shocked at the close call. Strangely enough, the woman who'd come close to death seemed undisturbed. Said woman glanced up at the car slightly, hardly looking at it before meeting Tifa's eyes. The stranger had only one eye, and it was a strong blue, piercing like ice. A strange feeling passed through Tifa then, a feeling she hadn't felt in years. Cold, bristling fear. It was going to be a long morning. Hey, Jonah, welcome. Alright, jumping back to the airship. Lucky for Cloud, Sid didn't mind hauling his motorcycle onto the airship. Beautiful machine, Sid said of it, looking it over with a mechanic's keen eye. I could do some stuff to it, though. It hasn't been given the love and care it really needs. Oh, man. Again, my general lack of knowledge of things showing itself. He could do stuff to it. Who knows what the stuff is, but he could do the stuff. You're a little late, but that's alright. We're only on chapter 1, setting up the journey to Silent Hill. Cloud let out a short laugh. I would give it more care if I could afford it, Sid laughed louder. I hear ya. Once the bike was loaded into the airship, Sid led Cloud through the cargo bay towards the front, passing a few airmen on the way. Each one greeted Sid with respect, usually calling him Captain. Cloud glanced over at the man and wondered why he, of all people, would want to go to Nibelheim. He decided the only way to find out was to ask. So, why are you headed out there? He asked. Sid glanced at him. Huh, what? To Nibelheim? The man asked. Cloud nodded. Looking for somebody. A friend went to see family there, and I'm gonna go see her. Cloud glanced away and frowned. Cloud tried to think of a way to word his question. Sid grunted. Out with it, kid, he demanded. Her family couldn't be in Nibelheim, Cloud told him. The town, it burned down a few years ago. Zako wants to know about the tea. So a famous part of Sid's character in Final Fantasy VII is when you first meet him, he's a character that's very angry and rough around the edges, and he demands the main character sit down and drink their damn tea, because he loves tea. It's like his favorite thing. So that's what that's referencing. The two stopped walking, and Cloud sighed. Almost everyone died. No one lives there anymore. The blonde glanced up at his friend. Oh, they're friends now, even though they've been... Okay. Are you sure she went there? Damn sure. Hell. Sid glanced away. But she just left a few weeks ago. Frowning, the captain crossed his arms. Damn it all to hell. There's like a curse word every 3 seconds. I mean, that's kind of how he's written in the game. So it's not that far off. Cloud felt bad for confusing the pilot, but he wasn't the only confused one. Who would go to visit family in Nibelheim? Did they start rebuilding the town? Whatever, guess she lied or something, Sid sighed. I'm still going after her, that's for damn sure. He glanced up at Cloud and put a hand on his shoulder. So what about you? Where are you going? The younger man felt his face heat up. What do I say? What excuse could I come out with? Well, thank you, Trinity. That's very kind of you. I hope you all enjoy this slight catastrophe. It's better than things we've read in the past, for sure. It's rough around the edges, but there's something solid at the core. Now to see, once we get to the actual horror aspects, to see if those work. I'm doing pretty well, thank you, Jono. Much better than I was. Kitty's going to the bathroom, so we'll just let him do that. He has to make noise. He's not actually... This is too much detail, but he likes to just touch the wall. It's not of any purpose. He just does that, and it makes noise. The other two don't do that. Silent bathroom time. Just Gandalf. You're done, buddy. You're just scratching the wall for no reason. Hi. Yeah, you're dumb. I love that dumb cat. I'm looking for someone too, he finally said. The lie made him feel worse, but he couldn't exactly tell the truth. And it was a half-truth besides. Well, good luck to us both. With that, Sid kept walking towards the front deck. You might as well hang out until we get there. Don't cause no trouble, you hear? Is this better than your RE5 Chris Wesker story? I think so, because it actually has, like, a solid premise, whereas the premise of that story was just, I wanted those two characters to bone. Whereas this, like, there are some kind of correlations between, like, Cloud's traumatic past that he doesn't remember and a Final Fantasy, like, a Silent Hill kind of scenario. I can kind of see where the two sort of fit together well, but we'll see if I actually manage to write anything frightening. The doors to the room slid open and then closed, and Cloud was alone, standing in the hall. After a moment, he found his way to the observation deck and sat across from the large window looking out over the airport. A sinking feeling took over, a terrible feeling he was making the biggest mistake of his life. Hey, fucktards, this is the captain speaking, telling all you pansy bitches to buckle up and prepare for launch! Hell yeah! Oh, God! Oh, man. Again, I had not played the game at this point. I'd only seen the movie Advent Children, so all I knew about Sid was he was a pilot and he cusses a lot. And that's all I knew. That's all I knew. Oh, man. The line clicked off, but Cloud didn't bother reaching for his seat buckle. He kept staring out the window. On the one hand, Zack and Aerith might be dead. Two of the only people in the world he cared about gone forever, taken from him by the spiteful powers that be. I guess the life stream? I don't know. On the other hand, they could be alive, and for some reason wrapped up in a Shinra catastrophe. I think I meant to say... a Shinra catastrophe? Probably I meant like a... What? Now I can't even think of the word. The C word that's a conspiracy. Probably is what I meant. Wrapped up in a Shinra conspiracy that had to do with Nibelheim and the vial of green liquid Cloud had. The blonde had his hand in his pocket, nervously fidgeting with it. Which was better, being alone or being involved in a secret, deadly Shinra plot? Cloud knew almost immediately anything was better than being alone. Once the ship did begin to shake and take off, Cloud reached for the buckle. He couldn't risk dying, not yet. He had to find Zack and Aerith first. Tifa had a bad feeling after dropping Denzel at school. Instead of going to the store, she rushed straight home. Cloud was still gone. No note, nothing. He'd be back soon. He often took drives for long hours, gone from morning to late night. He was fine, Tifa told herself. When she stepped into the living room, she didn't... Can't off! Buddy, chill out. She almost didn't notice she wasn't alone. Okay, he is completely messed up the background here, buddy. How do I... I'm not even sure what he did. I'm just gonna adjust the camera. This is actually a big closet, and I have 2 doors behind me, and I put the curtain between them, and he is playing with the doors and pushing them back and forth so that the curtain keeps flowing like it's in the wind. Tifa let out a scream when she realized a stranger was sitting on her couch. A second look made her realize it was the same blue-eyed woman she'd almost run over with her car. Oh my god, what the hell are you doing in my house? They are in an apartment, but okay. Tifa shouted, backed away with fists clenched. I'm sorry about earlier, but you have no right to be here. Forgive me, I wasn't sure how long you'd be, and I didn't want to wait outside. The woman stood, her long white coat flowing behind her. She reached out with her only good hand. She has a prosthetic, so she has... That's a bad way to phrase that. Shalua Rui, I'm looking for Cloud Strife. Does he live here? Tifa looked at the hand but didn't take it. After a moment, Shalua let it drop, but she didn't let the question go. Well? Tifa, I already read that. What do you want with him? Tifa asked her. Shalua smirked, but it was without humor. Information. Don't worry, I'm not trouble. I just want to ask him some questions. Tifa looked her over. Shalua was about her height, a bit taller, wearing red high heels, a burgundy skirt and tank top with a scientist's cloak, and a really ridiculous outfit that has way too many pieces of fabric and stripes. Is this going to be her girlfriend? Yes. Yes. It looked like she was missing an eye, and one of her arms was a replacement. I think that's called a prosthetic, but okay. This woman seemed to be made of trouble. What does that mean? This woman seemed to be made of trouble. Tifa didn't like it. Cloud's going through a rough time. He doesn't need anybody asking him questions. Shalua chuckled, not backing down. Fine. What about you? Tifa blinked. May I ask you questions? If you'll leave him alone. I can't promise it, but I'll try. I'll start with you. Shalua's smug face faded into a serious look. She approached Tifa, and the other woman held her ground. Where were you the night General Sephiroth destroyed Nibelheim? Dun dun dun! So that's the end of chapter 1. There is an author's note. And the author's note reads, Authoress here. I'm writing a lot of fanfictions right now, but I couldn't resist starting this one. I love horror and writing horror more than anything else, and I've always wanted to do a scary fic. After buying Silent Hill 2 a while back, I could resist trying this story out. I meant couldn't, but I wrote could. I hope you enjoy it. Oh, man. So that's chapter 1. A lot of stuff going on. At this point, I must have played parts of the game, because I'm including characters who aren't in, like, the main movie. I don't remember what order I played them in, but Shalua Rui is a character from Dirge of Cerberus, who also kind of is kind of easy to fit into a Silent Hill themed story when you're doing the whole someone's gone missing thing. Because Tifa obviously is being set up to go look for Cloud. Cloud is looking for Aerith. I've already hinted that Sid is looking for somebody, and Shalua has a little sister that goes missing, and canonically in her game she spends like half her life looking for this little sister. So I have a feeling that's what I'm going for here. I don't remember entirely. I do remember including a lot of characters from various Final Fantasy VII properties, Crisis Core, all kinds of crap. Thought about doing a fanfic. Is it worth doing? Yeah, as long as you're having fun and you're writing, it's great. And it's a good way of practicing, because fanfic kind of gives you some legs up where you're not having to establish world, you're not having to establish character history, all this. Like, if you're coming in and saying, I'm going to write a story about so-and-so doing this, people reading it already know the world it's in and the character, so you can just write about the scenario. And obviously the fact that you can put it out there and have people drawn to reading it because they know what it is, they're looking for fanfic to read about this thing, that definitely makes it easier. Because it's a lot harder to get established getting people to read something that's original. That's just the truth, especially on the internet. But fanfic's a really good way to build an audience and practice and have fun just writing what you want to write. Writing because it entertains you. I've done it for years. We could literally do Fanfic Friday for probably like 5 more years because I have that many stories and I haven't even touched the surface of them. And I have some stuff that's on paper and from earlier than middle school that I haven't even looked at in years that I need to scan into the computer. And I do have the AO3 thing that I've been meaning to finish setting up and just haven't had time. Here's the link again. I am going to try and do that later this weekend. That will let you guys read the actual stories that we've been reading lately. And I guess I can go to the main image again. This one was pretty slow, kind of just setting us up, no real horror. Some horrible writing here and there, but not as bad as things we've survived before. It's a solid intro. The characters are a little out of character because I didn't know them that well, and this is an AU, so there's a few details that are off, like, setup, setting, just little details, but you can tell that I've started to kind of figure out how to write. Yeah, you can show the art. If you want to, you can join the Discord. There is a channel for sharing artwork and stuff. That'd be an easy place to do it for fanfic or general art. No, there won't be any Silent Hill characters. There will be a lot of monsters, but almost entirely the characters and everything in this are drawn from Final Fantasy VII. It's just kind of the setup and the themes that are Silent Hill. It's really a Silent Hill inspired Final Fantasy VII story rather than a crossover, but I mean that was the best way to describe it in fanfiction terms, Yeah, but yeah, that was fun. A good setup. We've more to read next time. I think there's 11 chapters. I only did one this week because I have some family coming into town and I knew that I would probably not have time to read 2 whole chapters. I think it's 11. Let me see. Oh man. Okay, it looks like 9, maybe 10. And oh man, I see some of the horror I wrote. Oh boy. That's when the fun's gonna start, is when we start reading how I tried to write frightening Silent Hill-esque scenes. This was pretty tame. This was just, dude has an argument, gets on an airplane, and flies out of town, basically. But yeah, it'll be fun. Thank you guys for joining me, and sorry about all the delays and stuff this week. Unfortunately, that happens with health problems, and probably happen again, but hopefully it'll be a little while. We'll do Pokemon in a little bit, probably 6, maybe earlier if I feel like switching all this out and going ahead and getting started. And then tomorrow I'm gonna stream something. I don't know when, because I have family coming into town this weekend, but I definitely want to stream. I will probably do Final Fantasy VII, because Fire Emblem DLC comes out next Wednesday, so I'm going to swap the two so that we can play Fire Emblem's DLC the day it comes out, which will be exciting. Yay. So yeah, follow me on social media, buy my stuff, y'all know the drill. You've been here, you know the drill. And I will see you guys later for Pokemon. Bye!